presentan P1.
Conoce termas de Río Hondo, en Santiago del Estero.
Pauni, www.pauni.com.ar.
Citroën.
Nueva Toyota Innova.
Bienvenidos amigos de P1, hoy un programa especial de los que les va a gustar el tema de la técnica, ¿sí? Nos vamos a meter en los motores y hubo una gran producción de P1 cuando se viajó a Europa y a Estados Unidos, los motores de INDY CAR y los motores de la Fórmula 1. Parece que el camino, a pesar de que era muy distinto, comienza a unirse, Diego.
Son las dos categorías más importantes del mundo, claramente, Fórmula 1 e INDY CAR. Y siempre fueron completamente distintas. Indy siempre tuvo la famosa categoría spec de autos únicos, motores únicos, goma única. Y Fórmula 1 siempre fue lo contrario. Todos chasis distintos, muchos motores diferentes y hasta en una época había distintas gomas, distintas marcas de gomas. La crisis, el cambio de los tiempos hicieron que la globalización genere que en la Fórmula 1 empiecen a cerrarse ciertos caminos. Ya hay una sola goma, ya hay motores únicos para varios equipos y no son tantos. Antes había a lo mejor 8 motores distintos, ahora hay solamente 4. Y Honda de hecho tiene solamente un equipo. Va a tener otro con Red Bull el año que viene, pero ahora tenemos solamente Renault, Ferrari y Mercedes. Entonces, de a poco empiezan a cerrarse los caminos. De hecho, técnicamente hablando, Indy siempre fue turbo y Fórmula 1 era aspirado, pero Fórmula 1 desde el 2014 también es turbo. Y hasta hay quien se ha quejado del sonido de los motores de Fórmula 1 diciendo deberían ir hacia el camino Indy, que a pesar de ser turbo tiene más sonido todavía. Lo que pasa es que Fórmula 1 es híbrido. Entonces se nos ocurrió que podíamos hacer este paralelismo entre las dos categorías más grandes del mundo de monopostos. ¿Qué hacen con los motores en Indy? ¿Qué hacen con los motores en Fórmula 1?
Curiosamente, el reglamento en 2020 para ambas categorías va a cambiar. Nos metemos en el mundo Indy primero, ¿sí? ¿Cómo se desarrolla un motor que en principio va prácticamente en un óvalo al 100% en acelerador a pleno? ¿Cuántos kilómetros, cuántas millas se le hace en un banco de pruebas antes de ponerlo a pista? Vamos a hablar con Allen Miller, líder de motorización en Honda, y Rob Buckner, lo mismo en Chevrolet. Mundo Motores, INDY CAR y Fórmula 1 especial de P1.
For Indianapolis Speedways specifically, or for the other high-speed, super speedways, Texas, Pocono, yes, there it's pretty much 100% wide open throttle, high-duty cycle. We use the same engines on road courses and short ovals where you have varying throttle positions. It's not just wide open, so we have to kind of balance the approach. It's not only wide open throttle all the time, so we have different factors to consider, I guess.
We have a trackside engineer on every Chevrolet car. So here we have 16 cars and we have 16 support engineers, and each of our drivers have a different preferred feeling of drivability. And so our trackside engineers create pedal maps because we have electric throttle bodies, so we're able to adjust for each driver what they would like, and then for each track also. So we have oval pedal maps that they work on, and then bumpy street circuits can require something different than a smooth course like when we were here for the Grand Prix. Our group works on wet drivability settings for when we're in the rain, and they just really try to tailor it to each driver.
We're yellow. Low on the bottom at 2. Pace car's coming out here.
Driver has options on mapping. Say we'll give them a best power, and then there's options to go leaner, save fuel, so they can have some strategy against the other cars. And if they're trying to make 1 or 2 or 3 more laps, save some fuel for the end, potentially. You know, there's options on how they run. Typically, we give them 4 maps.
On the wheel, we have 8 maps. So it's a combination of pedal map, fueling targets, because you can also change to try to save fuel. So there's a lot of adjustments that each engineer can make with their driver to prepare for the race. They all have different locations and things that they prefer. So it's really custom tailored to each one of our drivers. So saving fuel, we can influence it a little bit, but a lot of it, one of the things we really like about IndyCar is a lot of it's down to the driver. So, the drivers that are most proficient in how to lift, roll the middle of the corner with more speed without using as much brake. So there's a huge driver talent that goes into saving fuel. We can influence it a little bit and help them hit a fuel number. So each lap they get a lap MPG, mile per gallon, on the steering wheel. So usually the team will tell the driver what number they need to hit, and that driver will then work with what we offer them and their driving style to make sure they're making the lap time and the fuel economy number they need.
Now we're allowed to use 4 engines for one season for one car. So those engines have to do multiple types of races, so we cannot have a special Indy only engine. So these engines that race in Indy this weekend will also go to, say, some will go to Detroit, some will go to Elkhart, some will do Iowa. There's many different.
And we do dyno durability testing to make sure that the engines can run at that continuous 100% duty cycle at 11,900 RPM for their expected, here's 500 miles, but this same engine will run again to 2,500 miles to mileage out. And that's something that since the beginning of the program in IndyCar we've focused on, is making sure that the engine's capable of that sustained high duty cycle, high speed, and then we take that same engine and go use it at a road course with higher boost pressure but lower duty cycle.
Actually, IndyCar assigns engines. We provide a list at each event. These are our engines that are available for installation. IndyCar assigns if somebody needs an engine. Once assigned, then that has to stay in the car until we either decide it's time to remove by mileage, or there's a problem with it, then it would come out. But otherwise, no, back and forth.
It prevents us from having to carry a lot of spare engines, and it also satisfies the teams knowing that they're all getting the equivalent engines, because when we build an engine, we don't know where it'll be going. So in a usual year, each one of our cars will need 4 engines because each car will run around 10,000 miles, and the rebuild expectancy is 2,500 miles per engine.
We don't have a fixed mileage per engine, but we do have a mileage per season, 10,000 miles, 4 engines.
So we'll do a full durability test, which is 2,500 miles, and if you have less than 2,500 miles on an engine, you still may need to start a race event with it. So we typically dyno test to nearly 3,000 miles to make sure that if we have to race or test a high mileage engine, that it's fully capable.
Hundreds of hours. We convert hours to miles just so that we can kind of compare to how we use on track. So durability tests, engines on track need to last 2,500 miles, so we'll test 25 plus a safety margin. So in preparation for a season, we might do 10 or 15 or 20 durability tests, all at that 2,500 miles with different variations of parts.
So that's one of the things another thing we like about IndyCar is that there's no balance of performance. They give us the rule book, and then the boost is monitored through IndyCar provided boost sensors to make sure that neither one of us are turbocharging any more than allowed. Here that'll be 1.3 bar for the race. And other than that, as long as we run our homologated parts, IndyCar monitors performance but doesn't do any type of BOP. It's kind of an open formula.
Indianapolis, we run 130 kPa boost pressure, short oval, 140 kPa boost pressure, and road course, street course, 150 kPa. So the power level varies by location. So here at 130, it's in the 450 kind of horsepower-ish range. At 150 at a street course, it's closer to a 700 kind of range. So it varies.
So we do parts homologation before the start of a race season, and then IndyCar will witness teardowns to make sure that we haven't violated changing parts that are not open. But there are some components, pistons you can iterate openly, so there's some parts that we have a freedom to adjust throughout the year, and as long as they meet the published rule requirements by IndyCar, then we're good to go.
One thing that the series does is there are torque shafts on the input shaft to the gearbox on random cars. So each supplier, Honda, Chevrolet, we have 2-3 cars that carry a torque shaft. We don't see the data, IndyCar does, so they have their own opinion or view of how the power comparison is. So there's a 2% window that they would like to keep everybody within, and we're constantly told that, yep, everybody's good, so no adjustments.
Nuevo Citroën C4 Lounge. Deja que el confort te mueva.
Citroën.
La fuerza de la mayoría. En Argentina, 6 de cada 10 tractores son Pauni. Pauni. www.pauni.com.ar.
Bien, terminó la primera parte de P1 escuchando cómo funciona la motorización en IndyCar con dos proveedores, el departamento de competición de Honda y de Chevrolet. Nos vamos a meter en el mundo Renault Motores Fórmula 1.
Así es, tuvimos la gentileza de Alejandro Reggi y Juan Pablo McIntosh de Renault Argentina, nos permitió acceder a entrevistar a Cyril Dumont, el director de operaciones de Renault Sport Francia, en Virilla-Dillon, en la fábrica de motores de Fórmula 1, donde se fabricaron los motores desde la época de los primeros turbos, allá por el 78-79, hasta los Renault que impulsaron a los Williams, campeones de Villeneuve, de Damon Hill, al que tenía Ayrton Senna también, y también al de Schumacher. Es decir, a toda la gama de motores Renault con los que fue campeón Fernando Alonso incluso también. Ahí se producen los motores y presten atención al detalle de desarrollo. Es interesantísimo entender cómo una fábrica de motores de Fórmula 1 trabaja con cuánta cantidad de impulsores y con qué previsión para la siguiente temporada. Lo compartimos.
So here you are currently at Viry-Châtillon. We do the complete development of the Formula 1 engine here on site. We are about 500 people working on site dedicated to this Formula 1 program, working exclusively on the power unit side. So can it be the development of the internal combustion engine, but also turbocharger, battery, electrical machines. So everything, all the design is made in-house. And then also we do the assembly of the parts and dyno test all the parts here in Viry-Châtillon. We've got many different dynos. We've got some dynos to test the sub-assembly. Let's say just one electrical engine, for example, or we can test the MGUK plus the MGUH. We can test the complete hybrid side, so the two electrical machine plus the battery. We've got also some dynos to test, let's say, some sub-assembly from the internal combustion engine, like the injectors, the pumps, or the oil tank, and all these kind of dynos. And of course, at the end, we've got the complete power unit dynos. We've got two performance dynos where we do some mapping of the engine, some performance comparison, and we also have some three dynamic dynos on which we can simulate the endurances and check the reliability of the engine, but also make on this dyno the dynamic mapping. We do the assembly of the development engine and the test of these development engines, but the assembly of the race engines are done at Mecachrome. Mecachrome has been working with us since more than 30 years. So Mecachrome has always done the assembly of the race engines, and they are quite close partner to Renault Sports to do the assembly of these race engines. I think if you want to succeed, you have also to have in England some people working on the chassis side. The experts from the chassis side are all based in England, and in the end, if you want to have the best people, you have to be based for the chassis side, at least in England. It's not that easy to succeed in Europe when you don't have the chassis that is based in England. So basically, it's a combination between task force in England on the chassis side and task force in France on the engine side or power unit side. It's not an issue to work. If you could say, okay, that's much efficient if you are at based at the same place. But at the end, Viry-Châtillon has always been in the heart of the engine side, and the chassis has always been in England. So you have just to use the modern tool to communicate, and we've got some weekly, if not daily, meetings with Enstone to ensure that we just work in the same direction and exchange all the information that we have to exchange with them. So it's not an issue at the end to have two different sites. In terms of development, let's say that we built about between 80 to 100 engines a year just for the development. For the race engines, as you said, we are limited to 3 engines per driver per year, and usually we just do 5 engines per year just to have a bit of margin and have some spare parts for the races. For a given spec, so same spec, we can have from one engine to another one. I think the difference of performance is less than 500 a lap. I won't give you any horsepower value or anything like that, but in terms of lap time, it's less than 500 a lap from one engine to another one at the same spec. From here, it's same behavior as what we do with Renault. We've got also weekly meetings with Red Bull or McLaren, and we do also work quite closely with them during the race weekend, as we've got the ops room, what we call ops room, and we are directly connected to the track. We receive the data from the track directly in Viry-Châtillon, and we can check the data live and propose some new setup to ensure that they run the engine at the maximum performance, but also in a reliable way also. Of course, we've got we do share some information between Formula One and Formula E. In fact, in terms of technology on the control unit side, for example, how you want to optimize the energy management on board, etc. So we do exchange quite a lot between Formula One and Formula E in terms of usage of the hybrid side. Let's make it simple.
Cada viaje es único. Confort, espacio y seguridad. Probada en todo tipo de viajes. Nueva Toyota Innova.
Es tu momento de volar. Viaja de Buenos Aires a Termas de Río Hondo o viceversa desde 2.100 pesos. Ida y vuelta. Salimos los miércoles y domingos. Termas de Río Hondo es vida. Más información en turismosantiago.gov.ar.
The future, the engine that we talked about, with INDY CAR earlier in the week, is we're targeting 900 horsepower at the road course level. Speedways, that's a kind of there's safety considerations. So how much power we apply at the speedway depends on how fast cars are. Probably in the 450 to 500 range, at least at the initial 2021 release, and then we'll just adjust as we go.
Yeah, it's an exciting formula that IndyCar's announced to go from a 2.2 liter V6 to a 2.4 liter V6, and then also an increase in boost pressure. So now these engines are currently capable to about 750 horsepower, and so we'll be pushing that to 900.
2020, we're just, I would say, at the very final stage of the discussion, but it looks like we are going to have to remove the MGU-H from the power unit. We are going to increase the performance of the MGU-K, going from 120 kilowatts currently to 150 kilowatts for 2021. And we also we will have to increase the fuel flow, so this means also more power for the engine, more RPM to increase the noise from the engine. So I would say in terms of performance for us it's pretty interesting to have more fuel flow to deliver more performance. But on the other hand, to lose the MGU-H in terms of efficiency of the power unit, we lose a bit of efficiency because of that, and that's a kind of a shame. But at some point, FIA want also to increase the cost. Is it the right way? I'm not sure.
Bueno, las dos historias terminaron uniéndose en lo que va a ser el nuevo reglamento del 2020. En cuanto a mi parte, entrevisté a los dos ingenieros prácticamente jefe de Chevy y de Honda. Es impresionante la competencia, a pesar de que hay dos empresas que manufacturan motores para INDY CAR. Es impresionante el nivel de espionaje que hay, el nivel de contratos que tienen los equipos para que no aparezca ni siquiera una fotografía, ni siquiera una filmación familiar, si se quiere, de la tecnología que tienen estos motores. Está muy medido al límite, como recién decían ellos. Prácticamente hay óvalos donde el motor va al 100% de acelerador y ante una pequeña falla, lógicamente los motores explotan. Es más, en el motor de Juncos, en aquel momento de las 500 millas, fue la bomba de aceite que está en la parte interna, ¿no?, que se está probando en los motores ya pensando para la temporada que viene. Es un nivel de tecnología realmente alta.
Bueno, y en Fórmula 1 a mí lo que me llamó poderosamente la atención es que aún teniendo la restricción de 3 motores por temporada para cada piloto por reglamento, desarrollan entre 80 y 100 motores distintos a lo largo de una temporada. Con lo cual uno piensa si la reducción de costos es tal. Porque hacer 80 motores para hablar de lo mínimo, o hacer 100, que es lo máximo que estima Dumont que hacen en Renault por temporada, diferentes, Lo que te demuestra que están todo el tiempo trabajando, gastando, invirtiendo, y una vez que consiguen una evolución, ahí van, la homologan, se la mandan a Mecacrom a fabricarlo, que eso también me llamó la atención, no lo fabrican ellos, sino que ellos desarrollan los motores y después recién van a correr. Entonces, la reducción de costo no es tal, y por eso uno se da cuenta también por qué hay tan pocas fábricas y por qué empiezan a juntarse estos caminos, como bien decías, entre lo que es Indy con 2 motores y lo que es Fórmula 1, que después de tener tantos, ahora tiene solamente 4.
Se viene un programa de motores especialmente de NASCAR y se vienen programas de motores de la Argentina. Hoy llegamos al fin, Zorrero, un gusto.
Un placer, un gusto como siempre.
Lo vemos en P1 dentro de una semana. Muchas gracias.